Hello and good day everyone. We are from Syndicate 5, BLEMBA 27 of SBM ITB. Welcome to our discussion about the scenario planning in the coal mining industry toward the COVID-19 pandemic in PT ABM Investama Tbk. Before we start, let us introduce ourselves. First of all, we have Ada Mahesa Putra for the opening and also for the company overview, and then continued by Woncho for the COVID-19 condition information and also orientation. After that, we're going to have Kiki Andriani for the explanation of exploration, and then we're going to have Chandra Permana and also Hanifah for the scenario framework, and the last but not least, we're going to have Restu Kemaradinata for the implication and also options. This is the outline of our discussion today, as I already mentioned before. Let's start from the company overview. PT ABM Investama Tbk is a holding company which runs an integrated energy, service, and also logistics business that invests on a strategic sector which related to energy and also mining. This company was established in 2006 under the name of PT Adiratna Bani Makmur and then changed to PT ABM Investama in 2010. And they manage 7,703 hectares of coal mining sites. This company have subsidiary to support and also to complement their business. First, they have Reswara for the coal mining owner and also the trader, and then they have Cipta Kridatama for the mining contractor, Parama Energy for the fuel management, and then they have Sanggar Saranabaja for the engineering activity, and also supported by CKB for the integrated logistic solution. This company have a really good vision because this company want to become a company with a strategic investment in integrated mining that manage the entire value chain starting from their own core business to the leading logistic company and also to the engineering service company as well. So they want to become a supporting and also complementing each other. By their vision, they have three related business segments, starting from the mining contractor and also coal mining, the service, and the third is the factory and also fabrication. Then, the discussion will be continued by Woncho.
Before we explore expected focal issues and critical uncertainties, we need to understand about company's business model. In this slide, the illustrations show the clear structure of ABM. ABM is an integrated energy company with current focus on coal mining as its core business. In addition to that, ABM conducts supporting activities related to coal mining to strengthen its integrated coal supply chain. To secure a sustained, stable, and solid future, the company aims to expand business portfolio through the activities of subsidiary in a number of business developments in various sectors related to mining resources, services, and mining infrastructure. The company also continued to expand production platform as well as improve the profitability of operating business units while developing a comprehensive organization which will be capable of strong synergy and integration in all business units. Let's look at more detailed business model of ABM with 7 steps. First, customer need company who can supply coal with competitive price and stability. The second, entrepreneur invention. The company found a huge opportunity in this business, so providing integrated service which will be capable of dealing with whole activities of mining services. Third, ABM has competencies as below: integrated system and platform, competitive price, service flexibility, stable and solid business portfolio and structure. ABM has competitive advantage in integrated company that make them easier to produce and distribute the coal. Also, ABM owns the mining ecosystem that leads to cost and time efficiency. 5. ABM could sustain its value creation through cost efficiency and operation excellence through strong synergy and integration in all business units. 6. Investment. How does ABM sustain and grow distinctive capabilities? ABM is continuously doing strategic investment in infrastructure and business platform. 7. Resources. Companies' main resources are integrated knowledge, numerous equipment and facilities, and skilled and professional knowledge workers. Before entering scenario planning stage, we need to see current situation of coal mining industry and global market. Current pandemic is affecting to the economic growth in mining sector, which also include the coal mining industry of Indonesia. As you can see the global coal production map, the production also affected partially and even totally. Now, we can make scenario planning starting from orientation stage. In the first stage, we need to define the users, the scope, and key focal issues. In current situation, related users are international market buyer and local market buyers such as electricity plant and B2B logistic importances. As a key focal issues, of course it would be pandemic. Next scenario planning stage will be delivered by Kiki.
Hi, my name is Kiki. In this part, I will explain about the exploration. Exploration, we're talking about analysis of PSTLE, politics, economic, social, technological, law, and environment. Politics because there is a constraint on coal export as impact of US-China trade war, which reduce coal production costs. Economic because there is an oversupply of coal from domestic market, which impact profitability and deepen competition. Social impact because of coal mining companies are required to do CSR, which add to increment costs and additional process. Technological because of Industry 4.0 production for coal mining will be more efficient and increase productivity. Law, as there is a new omnibus law which will affect stimulation of investment for coal mining investors. Last is environment for green company awareness, which will affect company cost to new investment for wasting management. Next, we will discuss about driving force. Business environment driving force will consist of three parts. First part is the contextual environment, is external force that which cannot control, such as green awareness worldwide, government regulation, pandemic, which make people feel volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Transactional environment is driving force of buyer of mining coal. It's from China and India. User consists of internal company regulation such as core value and corporate strategy, structural and organization capability. From driving force, there will be a critical uncertainty which will impact the business performance. We discuss several future uncertainty that might still happen within 5 years time horizon. We list down the uncertainty and impact with potential range between low to high uncertainty and impact to the ABM company. The uncertainty due to uncontrollable factor that could not be managed under company or the control will make pretty hard to manage toward the future. From those uncertainty, the highest uncertainty are due to COVID-19 and economic growth, which are number 12 and 5. Hence, we make those overall factor into our next scenario planning, which also will impact strategy planning as well.
Now we start to the main stage on constructing the scenario planning. As mentioned before by my colleague, which could be reflected also on the PT ABM Investama annual report, that within the two main uncertainties facing by the company, the focal issue is on the decrement of consolidated revenues of ABMM. As you might see on its financial performance, the operating activities is in very positive conditions, while the financing and investing activities is in negative conditions, which might become both a strength to gain some opportunities and a consideration due to next future scenario planning. The main objective of this scenario planning framework is to be able to see possible actions due to uncertainties which must be aligned to the strategic planning with very selective strategic initiatives. Regarding to the two main future uncertainties on the current economic growth and COVID-19 conditions, there are 4 scenarios that could be prepared and shall be taken towards 5 years time horizons. Since there might be some same national assumption on the data, the scenarios might be also aligned with the scenarios made by government institutions, which prepared as well within four scenarios: optimist, moderate, pessimist, and business as usual scenarios. Since this is also very important to be communicated to all employees and get the same sense of urgency, we made four easy remember scenario names along with its criteria, as like the Transformer movie. First is the Optimus Prime. Is the Optimus conditions that the vaccine is effective and boosts the energy demand, industry and household activities start to be back to normal, and the government policy on COVID-19 started to be dismissed, as well as the global pandemic also. The global economy industry is growing, and the government policy is in monetary and fiscal is supportive much to get the recovery time for company. The second is the pessimist conditions, which is we call as a Megatron scenario. There is some pharmacy industry growing, as for example like vaccine producer, tourism, financing, IT, which the vaccines produced not yet effective to reduce the COVID numbers. There are still a big threat in this scenario on COVID widespread that endures fears into economic growth. China is successful create vaccine, but not yet India and Indonesia. There is only still growth on revenue, but swallowed by invisible costs for the company. Another scenario we made is the Bumblebee scenario, which is a moderate conditions, where the vaccine is effective but not yet sufficient for all populations. There is a gradual COVID recovery against the population number or percentage over a period. Some economic pattern on tourism in high demand and open restoring is growing. The electricity demand start increasing, and at least China and India has recovery from COVID to build a demand back for coal industry. The last is the Volon scenario. This scenario is in business as usual conditions. No initiative or changes effectively can be done. Any strategy initiative are not successful or give some efficiency impact due to cost. COVID policy within Indonesia, China, India are still growing. Vaccine is not effective, and the economic growth in China and India still also negative. So those are the four scenarios that we made along the names and within the criteria itself. After we made this scenario, we also have to consider the implication of each scenario due to company's strategic planning and organization capability. The objective on mapping these implications is to get the sense on what is the most fit to current strategy to be aligned with the scenario and be prepared for the situation along these 5 years time horizons of what scenario chosen, and to possibly move or have some modification to one or to other scenario. Hence, these descriptions will be very dependent to the company strategy planning and capability, also the agility along the 5-year time horizons. First is the implication of scenario Optimus Prime. The implication this scenario within the economic growth that start growing positively and the COVID-19 that lower caused by the effective vaccines are the company might have revenue and cost restructurings on this time, leverage more strategy initiative to boost the recovery condition on agile manner, prioritize on primary selling forces and more productive opportunity, prioritize on receivables recovery to support capitals operation activities back to positive and growing pattern. Second, on the Megatron implications, take immediate cost reduction on productions, make a strict company policy on stay and work on site with external engagement limitation over the project sites, and my companies might support the positive sign by proposing a lower and extended interest rate on tax. And company might also release some bond obligations, publish some effective strategy initiative to sound spirit of rebound, make a tight selection on initiative and operation monitoring. The other scenario implication is from the Bumblebee. The company might finance the vaccine purchase prioritized to operation company activity, support IT budget as main enabler to close monitoring the performance and restructure the budget for primary strategic initiatives that could impact the revenue to grow. The last implication from the balance. Within this situation, where the economic growth is very negative and the COVID rate is also very high, the company might direct cost cutting or golden handshake, when all financing, investing, and operation activity is in negative performance. So those are the implications of each strategy that should be chosen to become an option. Since the scenario are all along 5 years time horizon, there might be a change along the way of the implementation and monitoring on keeping it aligned with the scenario chosen at first. Hence, all employees, especially senior managers, shall also be aware on the early signs of performance that might start to shift. We call this as the early warning system of each scenario that will be presented by my next colleague.
Okay, the next one is related to early warning system in scenario planning. As mentioned before, there are 4 metrics in which one have different scenario related to economic growth and the COVID-19 situation, whether it's getting better or getting worse. We will getting deeper in each category. We'll start from the volume criteria, in which the worst criteria compared to others. In this situation, the warning system will be alert if the discovered vaccine turns out is not effective in reducing the COVID-19 situation. The global economy is still in a gloomy situation with a maximum growth of -3% compared to previous year. The unemployment rate is still high in average, and all financing activity is still in negative territory. And the last bankruptcy rate of Altman's score of the company will hit to 1.8 or worse. In Megatron, we can clearly see the economical grew already in positive territory. However, the pandemic situation is still happening and the business practice is still limited. The vaccine efficiency and effectiveness are only reached 10% tops. The growth of economic is around 3 to 5.0%. The unemployment rate is still considered as high as 5 to 6%, and in this situation, the bankruptcy rate will hit around 1.96 for the company. The next one is the Bumblebee, is warning system region where the pandemic situation seems getting better and better due to effectiveness of the discovered vaccine. However, the economic still on transition phase, which reflected by minimum level of growth of the GDP will be top around 1.5%. In this situation, unemployment are getting better to average and median around 5%, and the company bankruptcy rate will hit around 2.0 level. The last one is the most optimistic warning system, the Optimus Prime. In this stage, the effectiveness of the discovered vaccine is more than 80%. The growth starting to stable even better than 5 to 5.5%. The unemployment rate reach a year high below 4%. The company will back to 4 to 5 debt to equity ratio and not more than 90 days of sales outstanding. With this recovery, the company bankruptcy rate still in gray area, but will be better, which will hit more than 2.2 level. After we define the scenario planning, it's time to jump to scenario implication and option. Breakdown according to the situation, there will be 4 scenario implications. The first one is the most best scenario where the vaccine is effective, the growth is getting better and better, the business practice back to normal, and of course the government involvement to support in this kind of situation. The effectiveness of the vaccine and the government involvement in monetary and fiscal policy is the key driving factor in this scenario, and of course the relation with the pharmacy industry, which is the producer of the vaccine, and the government are the main key actors. On dominant operation, the mode should still to intensifying the research, increase the collaboration, and should still focus on health and economic recovery. This will implicate on operating activity to back to normal and reflect to the increasing of the revenue level for the company. With optimist economic situation and the pandemic getting vanished, business expansion is the opportunities for the company to grow.
Hello, I'm Restu Kemaradinata. I will explain more about scenario Bumblebee, Megatron, and the Fallen. In the Bumblebee scenario, recovery of China or India is key driving factor. They build a demand back for coal industry. Growth of tourism and restaurant also be a key driving factor. Some economic pattern on this industry is growing. The regional government, tourism, and restaurant industry will be the key actor for this scenario. They play a role social distancing policy and also in partial recovery from COVID-19. The negotiation with PLN, which is DMO fulfillment, will be an option or opportunities for the company. Next is a Megatron. What happened in this scenario? In this scenario, pharmacy industry growing but not yet effective to reduce the COVID-19 patient numbers, and the China successful create vaccine, but not yet the other country like India and Indonesia. Key actor for this scenario is social media, which can increase the public awareness, and also government and financial institution when can create economic policy activity. So, for dominant operation mode for this scenario will be the cost reduction activity and focus on economy recovery. The option for company for this scenario is tight selection on initiative and operating monitoring. The last scenario is the Fallen. There is no initiative or change effectively can be done in this scenario. Any strategy initiative are not successful or give some efficiency impact to the cost. Vaccine is not effective. India and China is still negative in economic growth. The key actor for this scenario is task force. They create that bias regulation. The private sector, public, and the communities also involve. Driving factor for this scenario, they involve in high COVID-19 spread rate. So, dominant operation mode for this scenario is deterring policy making and the careless behavior. So, one keep it can be done by the company. The opportunities and the option for the company are change their business model. Okay, for the next presentation will be held by Hanifah.
So those are the overall of scenario planning framework. There are some purposes and focuses that might be chosen by the company before construction the scenario planning. Due to the current company financial condition, ABM might has a purpose on taking actions or as a prerequisite for changes within the focus either on the current business or even for next new business. Assuming that within today's condition, PT ABM Investama has to take some actions on the strategy development as its purpose and with the focus on current business preparations towards a scenario, for example Megatron, the scenario implementation might still possibly shifting to either Bumblebee, Optimus Prime, or even worse, to the Fallen scenario. It is important to understand the synergy or the connection between some patterns of some behaviors that move within causality as our system thinking shown from this slide, to be aware on what factors that cause changes on the scenarios. For example, in this case, the domestic economic growth and China-India economic growth are driven by the COVID-19 vaccine availability and effectivity. Both these conditions will influence the government policy and finally also influence the stability on demand side and the balancing for the energy renewable endeavor and policy, and also the stability on supply side, bigger opportunity for domestic market through both private and state-owned electricity. These domestic conditions will be the same as well as the international or especially China and India economic growth, which also will impact the GDP growth and its policy that support the supply and demand cycle, which also influence the stable international demand on coal for the electricity of its populations. This finally will also influence the sustainability of coal consumptions, which will also circularly influence the domestic economic growth and the China and India economic growth, as well as for the cycle for the overall, and which factors that influence the demand and the supply side for the coal productions, which impact the ABM revenue eventually. So those are the system thinking for the integrations of all factors that have to be recognized by the company and also by the employee, especially the senior managers, to be optimum on the implementation of the scenario planning. That's all from Syndicate 5 of Scenario Planning Framework. Hope this would be very useful for all of us on preparing the future scenario for our corporate strategy alignment within uncertain conditions. Thank you and have a good day.